And I was like, oh no, you're not gonna leave this argument. We gonna talk this out. I followed him 2 blocks and he called my mother.
I called her mom.
He called my mom.
Baby, 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 baby.
One of the first things she said to me is, I don't want to get married.
I'm not going for it. I don't care how fine you think you are, but I'm not taking the medicine.
There was no spark.
I don't know, I think maybe I'm in love with you. And if it don't sound completely crazy to you, call me tomorrow at this number. And he said nothing on the phone.
The more time I spent with him, I was like, okay, I can see why people spend the rest of their lives with someone.
And if it does not feel like that in our marriage, that is not where we need to exist. It doesn't make any sense.
I said it too, through sickness and in health, but I did not imagine that that goes beyond her. So when it did and she was dealing with that, I didn't know how to help her.
I was resentful a little bit in the beginning, like, oh, I quit my career for you, and now my name is Ephraim's wife.
Every goal that I had ever written down and all of that stuff is ultimately not going to happen.
I remember one time sitting down and thinking, I can talk to my husband by text better than I can to his face.
It took me like 5 to 6 years to relinquish control, but then it took maybe another 5 years for me to be able to articulate how I was feeling about it.
She's really, for me, a system of accountability. I needed her more than I actually knew.
We think sacrifice is so painful all the time, and it's not. Sometimes it's just saying, wait a minute, I'm just not going to make me the #1 priority right now.
You really can do it all. It just doesn't have to look like everybody else. You just have to figure out what works best for us.
I think all these lessons have toughened you up.
I hope so.
I used to listen to react, but now I listen sometimes not to react at all, but just to be able to know how to love him.
Baby, 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 will you love me, love me, love me, love me forever?
Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today we have a real treat for you as we welcome the creators of the popular OWN series Black Love, Codie and Tommy Oliver. We're going to start things out by introducing the AAFCA panel that's doing this roundtable today, beginning with Carolyn Hines in Toronto, our facilitator Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Karen Lanier in Charlottesville, Virginia, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, and Reggie Ponder. Happy anniversary, Reggie, in Chicago. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
How are you guys doing? It's Rhonda. Just wanted to know at this point, what keeps this series going?
Frankly, the fact that the need has never changed for us as Black people to celebrate our love and our joy. And we definitely look at the show as a celebration and a lot of fun while also making it about how we can help ourselves and help others, right? Learning from couples who are making it work. And as important as that was to me and Tommy in 2013, when we started talking about it, it has not changed, and in some ways has become even more important to increase that representation and visibility as well.
I would agree completely. I think for us, it's always been about seeing Black people as they are, happy, loving, nurturing people, and not the misrepresentations that we've seen for so long. And so to see those things, to explore those people and couples who have been and continue to be incredibly vulnerable and share themselves with us and with the world, I think the need is as much as it's ever been.
Hi, Carolyn, First Here's What Happened podcast and Carolyn Talks. So my question has a bit to touch on you mentioned representation. So I do have to ask about the fact that there aren't that many dark-skinned couples represented in the docuseries. So, and this is something I know that you probably would have heard about before, but for me, I did notice that there really isn't anyone of my complexion or darker. So could you just tell me about any feedback you've gotten with regards to that part of representation and with regards to colorism in the Black community, because it does exist? So could you just talk a bit about that?
Frankly, as we go into season 5, which premieres tonight on OWN, This was something that was mentioned to us when the season 4 teaser came out, a 60-second teaser last season around August. We've actually never heard it before from an audience perspective. And as we approached the series from the get-go, it was always our intention to show Black people as not a monolith, right? So we wanted to truly show us as we are. And so for us, all of our couples have represented the breadth of Black people, where we come from, what we look like. And I honestly would have to disagree that there aren't dark-skinned couples or dark-skinned women present on Black Love as a series. We both understood where the feedback came from in that 60-second teaser that came in August of last year. And we addressed it by saying that, in that teaser, there was the oversight that we did not make sure in that teaser, in the half of the couples of the season that were represented, that we didn't do a better job of making sure that snippet reflected the breadth of Black people and Black women in particular. But as a whole with the series, it's certainly not something that we haven't paid attention to, meaning making sure that Black people are represented fully and with full breadth of both complexion as well as background, where we're from.
And that's been literally since episode 1. And so
Yeah.
you look at, honestly, every single episode of Black Love from the very first episode, and you've seen a lovely whole, you've seen everybody. And so different complexions, different.
I would say we've portrayed, because to your point, if you haven't seen it, if that's your experience and that's what you're bringing to us, I hear you, and I certainly want you to know that wasn't our intention. And so our choices in choosing couples, our portrayal of couples we've had a commitment to making sure that everyone's present. And if that hasn't been your experience watching it, I want to respect your experience of it. Sorry, Tommy.
That's fine.
Hi, Karan Lenoir from Karanism.com. Congratulations on your 5th season. My question to you both is, in these 5 seasons examining Black love and the experiences of other couples, how has that challenged your relationship and how has it strengthened it?
In all the ways.
True. We don't do it as much anymore, but we would argue after just about every single interview, because she would find something and she's like, oh, why don't you do that? Oh, why don't you do that?
And vice versa.
I said, why don't you do that? And so it would just be, because we were young in our marriage and young in our relationship, and we were still trying to figure out what our relationship was. And we heard a lot of good things, but we had to figure out how to make it work for us, which is one of the things that has been a tenet of the show. It's about, looking at couples and figuring out what works for them and not trying to judge them for how they operate. And so it's been a journey for us, but a beautiful journey where we've learned so much, and it's forced us to have conversations that we needed to have. And it's forced us to explore things that ultimately strengthen us. And so it's been both. It's been great and it's been bad, but the bad has contributed to us getting to being way better because we had to go through it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, Reggie Ponder, the real critic out of Chicago. As the only male on the panel, I just want to say that it's very interesting to see the guys talking, for the guys to come out and really talk about a lot of these issues. Actually, it's and bearing their soul on some of the stuff that we might do on our own. Did you guys find the difficulty getting the guys to speak up?
I would say the short answer is no. I mean, Tommy and I make it a point. So first off, we do every interview together, just the two of us and the other couple. And so we create an intimate space. And I think Tommy being there has been a huge part of men feeling like, okay, cool, I can say this. I feel safe. It's not just these women looking at me. And then I would say with everyone, male or female, we also make it a point to make sure they're both speaking freely. They're both represented. If the wife says something that's like, hold up, what did you say to that, husband? And vice versa. We never want any perspective left out. And it's really important to us to make sure, like, if one person's being really quiet, okay, are you being quiet because you totally agree? Or are you being quiet because you're like, I'm not going to start a fight today? So, we try really hard to, not judge our couples and thus always ask them, okay, how do you really feel? Or how did you really feel in that moment?
I agree. The other thing, though, is that it was important from the very beginning that it was a show that even though guys may not be the primary audience, for the times where they are watching, or the times that, hey, the wife or the girlfriend's like, hey, come watch this, that it would feel good for them, that it would feel authentic, that it would feel like it was something that a guy was completely okay with. And that's what it needed to be. We needed to be, as in Codie and I, needed to be okay with it.
We used to say it had to pass the Tommy test.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Green here with Film Critique. And I was really interested about the financial aspects, listening to the different couples talk about their finances and the different ways that they've dealt with that. And I was wondering, how much further will the series go into that? And how important do you think that is for couples?
First, I would say finances are a majorly important subject for couples at every stage. And we try to the best of our ability, because of course these couples are coming to us with their authentic experience. We try to make sure that we are asking them, like, how early did you have these conversations? Or in a lot of cases, they didn't have them at all. And now they're kind of talking about where they've butted heads or where they frankly lost money. But yes, so we dig into that in this season. We were very, it's funny, one of the most memorable moments of all time with Black Love, 5 seasons in, is Viola Davis telling her husband Julius while they were dating that she had bad credit, and his response being, I knew you had bad credit from the moment I met you, and we can use up my credit. It didn't take long for us personally and from an audience perspective to realize how much people were really interested in talking about money. And so we bring it up. We bring it up whenever we can and talk about everything from when did you broach these conversations, and for the couples that will actually tell us, like, do you have a joint account? Do you not? Why or why not? So it's a lot of fun, and it's, I think, hugely important, and we'll never stop asking as long as they'll answer.
Hi everyone, Katya Woods, Couple Social. I'm going to piggyback.
What up, Billy?
Hi.
Billy.
I enjoyed this series, but if we're talking Black culture and we're talking as a representation, it's super American and super North American.
Sure.
And we are global. And where is the Latinx representation? Where is the Caribbean representation? Because our point of entry is completely different. Like, I mean, I'm Brazilian. I've been married a long time, and I also approach marriage different than my American husband. So are there any works in expanding that dialogue? Because it seems, although I don't think it's your intent, but it seems we have a very certain type of aesthetic. And I think, that kind of like dwells over into some of the other things that some people are mentioning. And again, I don't think it's your consciously, but subconsciously, that's what I'm interpreting now that we're in season 5. Can you discuss a little bit on why the lens has not opened up a little bit as far as representation?
Sure. So I want to sort of start by saying that when we conceived of the series, it was, for me, in large part, a response to a media portrayal of a Black marriage crisis in America. We were told, as a single Black woman, I was told by headlines, by major news outlets, that Black people are not getting married as frequently, staying married as long, and Black women are the least desirable women on the dating apps. And so when Tommy and I started working on this, it was important, well, as a means of figuring out what are our barriers here? How do we approach this so that we're showing, frankly, those exact people who are impacted by those headlines, that it's possible to find love and be in long-lasting relationships. So we said, okay, we're going to focus in on American Black couples, right? And to that end, it was just literally a response to the Black marriage crisis in America. And as we have continued to do the seasons, we have certainly pursued couples and have had several, but we have certainly pursued couples that are bringing different cultural backgrounds to the table, and have, asked them to talk about that a little bit. And so, frankly, I'll be honest with you, Kathia, I wish we had more of it. It was something that we pursued pre-COVID, that our interviews ended a bit abruptly in terms of the amount of time we were shooting. But when we brought in a few couples, you'll see Rick Lawn, Lord, I'm forgetting his last name, but he was a pretty popular WWE wrestler named Ezekiel Jackson. That's not his real name, which is why I'm like Rick Lawn Stevens and his wife, Jennifer, who appear later in this season. That's upcoming. And they talk about him, being from Guyana and a little bit of the differences between them as a result. Again, I wish there was a lot more of it, but we try to tackle it as best we can, but I agree with you. And for sure, would love to explore that more deeply in the next season.
Please do, because we're out here and we live here in the United States.
Oh, we love. I would love that. It was an actual topic pursued for 2020 that ended up being a very short interview period.
We'll happily take couple recommendations.
Yeah, if you're interested. I know you just said you've been married for a while.
My husband is not a camera guy, so I definitely would do it, but he is.
But we need you both.
Yeah, we need you both. Otherwise, Reggie's gonna be like, what's up with the men?
I thank you guys so much for pointing out having to counter the narrative of Black people not being married, because although I myself am not married, I'm not really interested in that, but I think that it's important on television that we have a balance. So thank you. But I wanted to know, in this season with the couples that are present, what lessons do you think are being communicated? Because I feel like each season has a set of lessons. So I wondered what this one was.
I almost want to say, just watch, Rhonda, just watch. But I would say one of the biggest from this season that you'll see throughout, because each episode is based on specific themes. So that theme may be about finances. That theme may be, faith. And we have interfaith couples this season as well. I would say something that came out through every episode was sacrifice and compromise and what that really looks like. From couples who gave up their career for the other person, due to travel and stuff like that, but from folks who truly made huge sacrifices in their lives for their partner, short-term and long-term, to even, like I said, there's an interfaith couple that really discusses what that looks like in their marriage, how that shows up, and what they teach their kids and what they celebrate. And so I would say compromise and sacrifice.
And how they approach it. You think about somebody like Kenny, where he's like, people talk about the idea of sacrifice or compromise as being a bad thing or bad words.
Painful, I think he says.
Yeah, and so it's not. It just depends on your mindset, and that changes everything when you approach it, understanding that it's a part of what will allow you to be together and happy and build something where you can both be where you should be and both be happy.
Hi. So my second question has to do with the makeup of the couples and how you got them to speak, because a lot of the couples are celebrity couples, or at least one person is a celebrity and the other and their partner isn't. So could you just tell me a bit about getting them to be so open with you and sharing their stories and their struggles with like thousands of people on TV, and then when in the structure of the series and the episodes, how did you go about choosing which snippets from each couples and their revelations did you wanted to include in the specific episodes?
It's all her.
Oh, Lord.
It is. No. It's like she's incredibly sweet and good at creating an environment where people feel supported and heard. And we're also, we're 5 seasons in. And season 1, we told people that we had a certain approach, which was never taking advantage of somebody or misrepresenting their story or changing anything. And people had no reason to believe us other than, we said we're gonna do something. And so here we are 5 seasons in, and we've done exactly that. Like, we've taken care of everybody's story, and we've treated them with respect. And I think the combination of Codie being so caring, because she really does care about every single couple, and she's so empathetic, and it's just in her nature where people are responsive to her, and the fact that, again, it's about creating an environment where people feel safe.
Yeah, and that starts with it just being the two of us in the room, I think. And then I think, as Tommy mentioned, we've thankfully built a reputation that we're going to treat them with respect. You know, we're not going to take things that they say out of context. And so I can't even say it's easier than it once was. Frankly, all the couples in season 1, I've said this often, like, there was no distributor. So all of those couples were doing it, for the culture. And looking at us as a engaged couple and going, all right, let me not lie to these people. let me tell them what it's really like. So I think that all of that has contributed to why people have been honest with us, from celebs to everyday couples. And I would add the health of their relationship. They've usually already talked through these things and are able to bring them up in a way that they feel safe and comfortable with each other, but in a way that they know is going to help somebody else. So that's what I would say.
And my end would be that the conversation from the very beginning was always about us. And what I mean by that is that, hey, we are a young couple who would like to stay married. We're a young couple who are trying to figure out how to get to where you are. And it doesn't actually help us if you're just not telling the truth or skipping over the hard stuff. Right. And so it's a conversation, because there are literally only 4 people in the room during these interviews, and the shoot is 4 people. Like, it's a broadcast show with a crew of 2, and so it's basically like 2 couples at dinner. And so if we are sitting with a couple who's been married for a long time, or they're not, and they're just still going through stuff, and we each want the other couple to be as strong as possible, then we're just going to talk honestly, and we want to support the other person. And so I think that we individually have been the benefactors of that, and then we get to share that with everyone else.
You also asked about how we choose what parts, I think, of everyone's story to include. And it really comes down to making sure there's a full story and a full perspective, right? Every once in a while, a couple will share something with us that, for lack of a better description, doesn't really have a beginning, middle, and end, or maybe doesn't feel balanced, like one person was talking more than the other. And if we can't present it in a way that gives us and our audience like a full understanding of said story, this is what happened, this is what both people felt about it or experienced, and this is the lesson, then we won't use it. And so that's really what it comes down to. And as we collect those stories from each couple, that's when we say, okay, a lot of people were talking about finances and the way that finances affected them or changed their relationship or brought them closer or further apart. So if we have enough of that, then there we go. At season 5, we now talk about finances. We just kind of pull it together that way.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, congratulations on the 5 seasons, because I think it's really important that you do have a show like this that helps dispel myths and misconceptions about Black relationships and marriage, and Black people in general too. So thank you.
Thank you.
My question to the both of you is, as documentary filmmakers, I'd like to know in what ways you're engaging the young, the aspiring, and the next generation of folks, especially working in a place like the Oprah Winfrey Network, working with them and having such broad reach in communities of color. What ways do you choose to engage?
As much and as often as possible. And so I think that we have a responsibility, going back to what Du Bois said forever ago, the idea of the talented 10th, where those fortunate enough, lucky enough, talented enough to achieve success, that it's incumbent upon them to give back to the remaining 90% to help them achieve it as well. And so, because if we're not doing it, then who the hell will do it? And so for me, it's however I can. And so it's really it's however I can. And so it's conversations, it's phone calls or text messages, or lots of Zoom panels and doing all those things. And so trying to hire people, and whether it's from a first-time job or an assistant or intern, or just giving people access. And we also have a bunch of equipment and stuff, and so allowing people to use stuff if need be, and just trying to, for me, it's always been about enabling other people to tell stories, enabling other people to tell the stories that they need to be telling. And so it's honestly in as many ways as we can.
And Tommy, is from Philly and makes a point of speaking to Philly news outlets as often as he can, with his work far beyond Black love, and speaking to schools in pre-COVID. And I went to Howard, so that's very much my young people connection, is making sure that I'm always communicating with the students there. And basically anytime, to your point, anytime the youth, anytime we can influence young people or share our stories with young people, we're always there, because our commitment to not just younger people, but to the Black community goes far beyond Black love or 40 Years a Prisoner, which is Tommy's most recent doc. We want to bring others along with us and give opportunities, and our companies are, Black love is easily 90% Black in terms of our team and our staff. And so it's important to us at every stage, at every step, to help others that look like us.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hi guys, with 29 years in on the marriage, and I'm pretty excited that you guys are putting this type of show out for people to see. There's this thought that Black men don't like Black women, Black women don't like Black men. And so can you guys speak to how satisfied or encouraged you are as to what you see in the media today that supports your Black love?
Mm-hmm. The landscape has changed so much in terms of how Black love, not simply our series, but the theme, the notion, is viewed. I say this all the time. A couple years ago, and y'all know this, you could Google Black love and you would see naked people, naked brown people. And it was like, why is that the understanding of Black love? And now to see so much representation, not just couples from our show, but something that stands out to me, because I've Googled this many times, is recently seeing, Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan in the embrace that they shared shortly after one of the movies they did together, and seeing that brotherhood is Black love. And so, I have been very encouraged by, I think, the general shift in media and entertainment. Now, there's a lot more to be done. But I think there has definitely been a shift. We have been using our voices as Black people and Black storytellers to change the visuals that are present. And that extends for sure to seeing more representation of Black men loving Black women and vice versa.
Thanks a lot. I see Tommy's like, yeah, that's about it. That's about right. No, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Congrats on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Green with Film Critique again. So for me, I was wondering, how much further are you going to go? Do you think you'll go with this series in exploring different topics that Black couples have faced? And also, what's some of the feedback that you've gotten in terms of how this show might have helped different couples along the way?
The feedback has been insane. It's been really incredible and so overwhelmingly positive. And it's some of it just, I remember there was one thing that we did in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been a lot, the ability to, representation matters. I mean, to your point earlier, Carol and Katia, it matters. And so us seeing loving Black people on TV, and it's not about the bullshit. It's not about the tension and drama. And not that there isn't complication, but it's different. It matters. And we've heard from so many people, from churches, from marriage and family therapists, from couples, where it's become a part of how they handle their relationships and what they talk about, and how it's a part of premarital counseling, and how
Therapists have said
just so many people, and it's wildly exceeded anything we could have imagined or hoped for.
And I just want to speak to, and I know you mentioned couples and Tommy as well, but how many single people, never been married, or people who are divorced, who have commented how it has given them hope, and that was my goal when I thought of this idea before I met Tommy. I was single and reading these headlines like, oh, okay, I'm just not supposed to get married, I guess. And my parents are divorced. My dad was remarried, but my mom wasn't. And so for me to get an episode, which we did in season 2, called Second Time Around, to do that meant so much to me for my mom, and people like her. And Tommy was referencing, so we do a lot of live events, or at least we did.
We will again.
Pre-2020. And we had an event in Chicago where we brought Taj and Eddie George, and I feel like there was another couple, but I'm blanking. We'll think of that. But there was a woman that came up to us afterward and said that she had gone through a really bad divorce, and that someone told her to watch Black Love, and she was hesitant because, some folks think of it as like, I don't want to see all these happy people. And y'all know, if you've seen it, they're not always happy. They're just talking about how they got there. And she said that it got her through essentially suicidal thoughts after her divorce. And that's how I knew exactly the moment that he was talking about, because it meant a lot to us to hear it. It meant a lot to us to be able to embrace her and to have had any impact on her at all. And so that's why we do it. I mean, that's one of a lot of reasons why we do this, because before it, as Tommy always says, Black Love, this show's not like revolutionary idea. Lots of people had the idea, but to be able to create that and wake up every day and put these stories together and find new couples and ask them questions to impact people in that way, we're just really grateful, and hope to do it in various ways for a very long time.
Yeah. And the other thing is, for me, the idea of looking at relationships in a realistic way. And so for so long, the idea of what a relationship was, what came from TV or a movie or whatever, and it wasn't real. And so not having grown up with a married mom and dad, or seeing many marriages, I had no idea. I had no idea. And so to be able to have just a little bit more insight, and to realize that there are things that are actually normal, but if I don't know that, then it feels like it may be this crazy thing. To me, that has been incredibly valuable. And that's just for me. And so like, it's been helpful for me, but I've also heard from other people, just the normalization of what it actually takes to stay married, and to be able to see that and have a conversation about that is invaluable. And truthfully, if we've helped one couple stay together, that is more than enough.
And that was a really good soundbite, but I want to add the amount of divorced people, including, my own parents, who have said, man, if I had this before I got divorced, it might have changed, the outcome. Like that to me, it's obviously, simultaneously painful, but also powerful, to be able to have that impact. And so I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Hey, Kathy again. One of my things is, since you're talking about showing that, Black love is very existent, how conscientious are you of making sure to include a couple? Because, marriage is different. 5 years, 10 years. I remember someone saying to my husband and I is, your relationship won't get tested until you reach after year 10. And I'm thinking to myself, well, aren't we supposed to, like, we made it to year 10. Yeah. And then we got past year 10 and I was like, my God, they're like really correct. So is there a conscientious effort to put in couples that have been married 40 years, 50 years? Because, you know, if we're out talking about showing that Black people love one another, that Black people, couples exist, part of that is also showing that there are still a lot of people who are married long ways and that like each other. I think that's the key word. You can love someone, but that doesn't mean you like them. So do you think about that? Hey, let us make sure that we do put that nugget in there, because again, 4, 6, 8, and 10 is completely different than 20, 23 years married, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yes, absolutely. We've had couples married from 1 year to 70 years. And so it's a completely different thing when you're married for 2 years or 20 years. And so there are different experiences, different lessons. And also, one of the things that we were intentional about in the beginning was having couples who have been married for a certain threshold, because we wanted people who had actually experienced things and could talk about them and not just talk in platitudes or just the idea of something, but actually having gone through, and they can point to these things specifically and specifically how they got through them. So yes.
Yeah. Of course, that was our goal. You know, it still is our goal to make sure people are really sharing stories from a deep place and from a full place. But then we got, well, where are the newlyweds? And we're like, I mean, they ain't been through nothing. I mean, joking, because we were newlyweds, you know, we were engaged when we started this, and the newlyweds probably in season 1, like once it aired. And so it was like, we don't know nothing. Well, we don't ask newlyweds questions, but we did it. You know, we certainly explored what that first year was like through people like Jamel Hill and many others last season. So, Jasmine, Simon, and Dulé and Hill as well. So yeah, it's been interesting sort of seeing where people are like, well, what about this? What about that? And it's fun for us to figure out what do those stories look like, seek some of those couples, and work to put that together too.
I just think it's a part of the overall mix of making sure that we're talking to lots of couples in different places and in their relationship and different makeups, because we have a lot to learn and share from all of them.
Definitely. Thank you.
Tommy and Codie, let's talk. Can you talk about the importance of Black love versus trauma, versus Black trauma? There's been a lot of talk in the news today around trauma in our community, and really not enough. It could never be enough about Black love. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Do you want to go first?
You can start.
Okay. There was a CNN article, maybe December, January, it's a blur, where the author put together shows that represent trauma-free Blackness. And I was very grateful that we were one of those listed. You know, they had Atlanta, they had Insecure. So we were in very good company. But ever since then, I have been using that term to describe our show, because, you know, that is what we are. And it is extremely important. So we talk a lot about celebrating Black love and Black joy. That is part of our activism, right? Is to remind our community that it is ours. Love and joy are ours. We deserve it. We are worthy. We have to present that at all. Like, we owe it to ourselves to still have it, share it, give it, show it. And so I believe it's deeply important for us to be a platform, because we also have a huge social following. Black Love does, that is almost 1 million followers at this point on Instagram and Facebook. And that's our commitment. We're always here for the trauma-free Blackness. We will be here to affirm you, to tell you we love you, to show you you're worthy. That's our commitment, from social to TV to film.
I think that they are both worthy of being explored. And I think that there are times where they can commingle, and there are times when they are fine or best served explored separately. And so, but we need both. The idea of Black trauma in this country is something we've dealt with for a very long time. It's something we are continuing to deal with, and it's something that we don't heal from overnight. And so part of healing is being able to actually remember that we deserve to be happy and that we deserve to figure out what Black joy looks like. And so they're related, they're different, they're both important. And I think for me, I kind of straddled the line on both sides. Like yesterday, you and I, Gail, we talked about the social justice doc that I made, which is very much about Black trauma in a lot of ways, but it's also about Black joy and Black love. While we're sitting here talking about Black love as well. And so I think that they both matter. And actually, again, 40 Years a Prisoner is actually a really interesting example because it is sort of in the nexus of that, where there's so much love in that. And it's just, for us, something that's always been really important.
Do the two of you plan to continue to expand the franchise with workshops and community events? I know a few years ago, you guys did a big one in Atlanta. Will we see more of those around the country?
You will. And so we have our annual Black Love Summit. And so we did it in LA and Atlanta, and we are going to continue to do them.
And we did a virtual one last year.
Yep, which was in LA, technically. And so we had we have another series called Black Love Live, where we would go around with couples and
around the country,
having pretty awesome live conversations. We are continuing to expand our live events business. And so we've got some really cool things coming up. And so for us, Black Love Inc. is different than Black Love, the show. And so Black Love Inc. includes blacklove.com. It includes all of our socials on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, our Black Love Plus app.
And content wise, Black Love Inc. picks up where sort of Black Love the docuseries leaves off, meaning where the docuseries is about what it takes to make a marriage work, i.e. romantic love. Our brand is parenthood, sisterhood, brotherhood, self-love, dating, because we feel like it's important to show us as happy, healthy, loving people. And sorry. And so it's 360 degrees of Black love.
And honestly, one thing that we've actually never really talked about, that so much of what the show has afforded us has been the ability to create content that we think is needed and helpful. And so it's like we just poured so much of that back in. And so it's not just, hey, we're making a show, we're just, taking all the money and doing whatever. It's like, and honestly, like 85-90% of it just goes back into supporting Black love and trying to put out content that will help us progress and learn and be better individuals, which is one of the best things we can do for any type of relationship, whether it's a platonic relationship or a romantic relationship.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, Tommy and Codie, on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, film and TV critics, we thank you for your time. We definitely celebrate your work, and we appreciate everything that you guys are doing to uplift and to support the very real concept of Black love, and that it's true, we do love each other. And so we're absolutely delighted to have been able to create this roundtable today, and look forward to speaking to you again for the book, for the mini-series, for the whatever it is, about this important subject. Thank you guys, and have a great day.
Thank you, Gil. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.